treasures bold. I can keep my secret where and in a riches new and old.
Hey everybody, this is Toby Eunice with the Gypsy Kiss. It's time for the Forrest Fenn Friday Fenndango.
Too far to walk, put in below the home of Brown. There it's no place for the meek, the end is ever drawing nigh.
So we've got some pictures to show, some music to play, some letters to read, some text messages. We're going to have fun tonight.
The thrill of the chase, looking high and low. Oh, the thrill of the chase, the thrill of the chase, looking everywhere I go. I finally figured out.
Stick with me a couple of seconds and we'll get started.
Now I can sit right back and take a long quiet peace.
So not everybody, a number of people have asked me for about that song, and I'll tell you in just a minute. Let me get my phone set up here because I was trying to get it charged, and I want to make sure that we can talk with each other. Give me 1 second here. So hope everybody's having a good Friday. I have to tell you, I had a great Friday. I was busy this morning. I went out to the shooting range, and the shooting range for me is always a relaxing place to go. So I had a lot of fun with that, and then I came back today, and I had the opportunity to interview Sarah Jane Woodall. And for those of you that don't know her, she has her own channel called Wonder Hussy Adventures, and it's a great little channel that's very. She talks about it's a travel vlog, but she has a really cute personality and very playful and very sexy, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. And she agreed to do an interview. She has searched for the Fenn treasure. She has a couple of videos out about it on her channel. So it was just a lot of fun to interview her. And in addition to that, I used another feature that Restream.io makes available to us. And that feature was that I was able to simultaneously. So I've mentioned in the past that we have been recently simultaneously streaming to YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, and Twitch. And again, some of those channels, Twitch, we only have, I think, 3 followers, but we're just trying to expand our footprint. Michael Ken, I do have your picture today, and we're going to show it in a little while. I want you to, so you have to tell the room what this picture is about when I bring it up, okay? Anyway, we've been streaming to those 4 platforms, and today what we were able to do is we were able to simultaneously stream to our platform, and our channel and her channel as well. And she has around 41,000 subscribers. So they were able to watch her. They got their subscriber notice. It's she tried restreaming once a long time ago, and it didn't go well for her. So this was the first live stream they had seen, and of course the live stream happened to be an interview of the channel owner. And she's very personable and very witty, and she talked about her travels. She talks about she and her sister spent when they did make the trip to New Mexico to look for the treasure. Apparently Fenn had seen her channel, and he knew she was coming to town somehow or the other, and he invited her over to his place, and she and her sister spent 3 hours with him and had the whole Fenn thing going on, including the drink from the bottle of Jackie's brandy bottle. So if you get a chance, you can watch it on our channel, which I would like, of course, because we get a view. You can also watch it on her channel. But if you're not already a subscriber to Wonder Hussy's Adventures, I strongly recommend that you go subscribe to her. So let's see, what else? We've got some letters to read. We've got some pictures to share. Let me see if I can get that. Where is that picture? Yeah, that's Michael Ken's picture. He sent it to me, and it is a damned odd picture. I can say that for it. But he can tell you more about it once I put it. As a matter of fact, what you ought to do, Michael, is after I bring it up, maybe you can call the 1-800 number and we can talk about the picture, because I think it requires some conversation, but not yet. So the 1-800 line is open, 1-800 947-1043. Please feel free to text any questions or comments in just a moment. So let me turn the phone off for just a little bit. So I'm going to turn the voice part of it. You'll go to voicemail if you do it right now. And maybe, Michael, that would be a good idea if you'll just call, go to voicemail, and explain the picture so we can play the voicemail while I'm showing the picture. But I've got some letters to read, and I do want to play this song. So this song, I don't think Larry gave it a name, but it was composed, played, and sung by Larry Riddle. And he sent it to us, and then he gave us permission to use it on our channel. And it takes the poem and it turns it into a song, and then he adds his own chorus to it. So it's about 1 minute and 50 seconds or so, but I'm going to play the whole song. And while I'm doing that, you guys can get started in the chat, and I can get all my technology straightened out here to make sure I can take calls. Okay, so here we go. I call it the Thrill of the Chase song by Larry Riddle.
I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and in a riches new and old. In it where warm water's hauled, and take it into canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk, put in below the home of brown. There it's no place for the meek, the end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads of water high. Thrill of the chase, yeah, the thrill of the chase, looking high and low. Oh, the thrill of the chase, yeah, the thrill of the chase, looking everywhere I go. I finally figured out those blues, and I found the treasure chest. Now I can sit right back and take a long, quiet, peaceful rest. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. Let Terry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to see? The answers I already know, I've done it tired, now I'm weak. So hear me all and listen good, your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. Oh, the thrill of the chase, yeah, the thrill of the chase, looking high and low. Oh, the thrill of the chase, yeah, the thrill of the chase, looking everywhere I go. I finally figured out those blues, and I found the treasure chest. Now I can sit right back and take a long, quiet, peaceful rest.
Which I imagine we will all do once this treasure has been recovered. So I've got a couple of letters that I received this week, and I thought I'd read them out to you. The first one is from Jerry Harris. He doesn't say where he's from. And he says, "Hi, Toby, you mentioned in one of your videos that Forrest owned land in Colorado. Could you tell me where he owned the land, the location of the land? Thank you for your time and help. Warm regards, Jerry." So, Jerry, the only, and I'm not going to use the word land, I'm going to use the only property that I'm aware of that Fenn owned was a condo that he either purchased, that he must have purchased, for one of his daughters to go to college at one of the universities in Colorado. I don't know which one it was, where it was, but I don't, to the best of my knowledge, I've never mentioned that he owned, quote, land. I think he did own property in the form of a condominium that he provided while his daughter was going to college. We did the same thing for one of our daughters when she went to Coastal Carolina. So, and let me see. Michael, I just got a voicemail. Just show me a text that's from you. So if I play it, I can match it to the picture. Then this one is from our friend Paul Emmons. As you know, Paul was my "It's All About You" interview a couple of weeks ago, number 13, and he talked a lot about his life. And this is, well, let me just read the email. I was going back through my emails from FF, meaning Forrest Fenn, and this response grabbed my attention. It didn't so much this time. It didn't so much the first time. Toby, you can use this email however you want. So I'm going to share it with you guys. And I'll read it verbatim. Mr. Fenn, on May 24th will be my son's 6th grade geography class to present the map of the poem. Oh, boy, I really messed that up. On May 24th, I will be at my son's 6th grade geography class to present the map with a poem. My intentions are to have them write down their thoughts. Could you give me a question for them to answer? I will send you the results with a photo. Many thanks. Fenn writes back, Mr. Ammons, tell them that the treasure chest contains 21 troy pounds of gold. Ask them how many avoirdupois ounces that is. The price of gold changes every minute around the world. What is the price right now? Ask them the difference between 12 carats of gold and 18 carats. Google will help them. Good luck. So that was very kind of Paul to share that with us. And I think I don't know if necessarily there's obviously intelligence. Now one has to analyze it in terms of value to your solve, whether or not it's reliable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right. So let me bring up, this is a voicemail from Michael. Ken. I pronounce it Ken. He could correct me, but it's Koen. So let me show the picture. So I'm going to go out of the scene here. I don't know. Can I change this real quick? Hold on. I'll do some magic here. Let me do some quick magic. Toby magic. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Okay. So I'm going to put me down in the corner so that you know I'm still here. And I can't block any of this image. Let me move the image over that way. So you're watching this all happen in real time, folks. Real time. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to this image that Michael sent me. He sent it about 2 weeks ago, and I promised him that I was going to show it on one of our shows, but I just didn't have any information on it. So let me go ahead and make the transition, and you can take a look at it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this voicemail, so that you guys can hear it.
Hey, Toby. This is Michael Cohen, spelled Koen. Although everybody that I know knows me as a bird, B-I-R-D. I found the marker, I guess. I call it the blaze because I feel I am that close to the treasure. I feel I am within 100 feet. I am totally handicapped with the lungs, and I can only spend so much time up on the mountains before I get a lot of fluid in my lungs. That's why I did not continue in following through with it. I spent 4.5 hours on 2 days looking for this treasure. I am looking for interpretations of this marker, how it looks and everything else. Yes, it was in a spring, and it was about 6 inches down in the muck, so it was cold. It was cold to the point that it hurt. That's all I can tell you. I'll let you go with that. I'll do the rest on, I'll answer the rest on the sideline there. Thanks. Bye.
So there we are. Michael is in the chat room tonight, so if you have any questions about it, I'll leave it up there for just a couple more minutes, and you guys can take a look at it. Meantime, I'll just start greeting the folks in the chat room while we're doing this. Sledneck's in the room. Rick Plank from Cincinnati. Hot Rod Mav, now a pretty regular visitor to our chat rooms. Alan Kay, my friend from, can I say this? From Norton. And Alan... So I'm wondering, Alan, tell us, so send me a text message and tell me there was a discussion over in one of the forums, and for the life of me, I can't remember which one. But there was a recent Mysterious Writings question, and it was signed by Alan Kay. I wondered, if it was you, and the interpretation was amazing because the conclusion that was coming, that that they had come to was that it was really Allen Key, and now was there some sort of hint or clue in the Allen Key? So tell me if that was you, and perhaps you can refer back to where that was, which mysterious writings things that was, if it was you. Anyway, just send me a text. Let me know if that was you. Dak is in the room. Hey, Dak, how are you doing? Michael, 23 Monarcha. Hello, everyone. David, 22. Oh, Davio, 22. Davio, where's my Davio music? Our moderator, Joe Lewicki, is in the room. Aaron Ramsey, who's always got the most interesting questions. Louis Lewa, Louis Luya, I'll never know how to pronounce that. Virgil Kane is my name. Nothing more like sending sounds down range. Yeah, you'd like those, huh? Gary Sandberg, hello from Seattle. Hot Rod Melps, I already said that. William Ortiz, Yo Ho, who's always got the witty comments. So, Zozo Rocks, HP Hurd, Holly from North Carolina. There's lots of, at least a couple of North Carolinians in the room. Let's see, Jimmy Fast, moderator Jimmy Fast, my friend, and whom I recommend to other people if they need moderators. I keep saying we got to figure out a way to pay him because he sure works hard on what are we talking about? The herp? Is that the Jackie Kennedy wine bottle or brandy bottle? You guys are sick, I tell you. Baldwin Wallace, he thought it was going to be a rap song. I will pay $100. I will pay $100 to the first person that sends me a Thrill of the Chase rap song. How's that? And we'll play it on here if you've got one. How hard can it be to write a rap song? No, you know what? That was disrespectful. I know it's very difficult to write music any way you look at it. So, Lori James says something is hokey. I don't know what Lori says. Arthur Donnelly is in the room. He likes the song. Maverick Searcher says, greetings, Baldwin Wallace. He was in Brown Meadows outside Colorado Springs. There's a whole bunch of brown places in Colorado, isn't there? Brown Canyon, Brown River, Brown Springs, and now Brown Meadows. My favorite is the link that someone sent me to a map reference in Colorado, and it's Homer Brown Springs. Huh? Homer Brown, get it? AJ Rainville is in the room. Toby Fan 3000, my 3000th subscriber. We are moving in on 3,500, Toby Fan, so you may want to change your name. I don't know. Oh, so Zozo Rock says, you've heard one song. Here is another that I composed strictly using the letters in the poem as notes. Enjoy the melodic trance of this early draft. Picture yourself on a trail in the mountains. So I don't know. We're going to do that. Send it to me, Zozo, and we'll play it. Okay, Davio. John in Minnesota's in the room. Key 6 is in the room. Okay, so I don't see any questions in the chat room, and I will advise you that it's much more difficult for me to see questions in the chat room because I'm looking at 4 different chat rooms, the stuff from 4 different chat rooms right now, and so it's hard for me to pick it up. If you do have a question in the chat room and you don't want to send a text message, just do me a favor and precede the question with an @AGK at least. So that I can see it. If it's just a comment, I'll probably just let it ride because anybody can, we can all read the comments. But if you, Aaron, I looked for a loon sound, but you're going to have to wait until somebody leaves the community because my Boss Jock, which is the application that I use for this, has left. Is filled. So I've got to wait till somebody leaves before I can. So Alan says one rap song coming up. That's a lot of talent, Alan. Let's see. Holly says, AGK, if that pick is the Blaze, it's not feasible to be removed. And I believe Michael K. removed it. That's a question. Michael, maybe you could answer that for her. Arthur Donnelly from Atlantic City, New Jersey. I used to go up there to gamble every once in a while when I was living on the East Coast. Okay, Michael, you've got a bunch of questions in the room about this picture, so I'm going to turn all of those over to you because obviously you know more about it than I do. Let's see. Okay, so now you've got something started. Shane McLaughlin is asking what's the back side of the stone. So if you have pictures of the back side of the stone, send them to me and we'll play that. We'll show that part as well. So I may not be able to do it tonight, but okay. Boom. Okay, questions are done. I'm going to transition back to full frame. And as I said earlier this evening, if you have any questions for me that you want to be assured that they are read, send them to 1-800-947-1043, and that way I'll get them. And even better, if you'd like to call, I'm going to turn the phone lines on, so you're not going to go to voicemail. So if you want to call and say hi and talk and ask your questions or make your comments, now would be the time to do it. Davio, let's have our little call that we do every Friday night. It's time for that because I'll bet you have a question. And I'm sure if you have a question, I have an answer. How's that? Okay, so thanks, Toby. This is Jerry Harris from Waco, Texas. Oh, that was that letter that I wrote, that I read about Fenn having property in Colorado. So you're welcome, Jerry. Thanks for sending the message. And I do want to say that you have a number of ways to reach out to us so that we can include in our Friday night programming. Excuse me, I'm going to have to clear my throat. You have a number of ways to reach out. That didn't help. Wow. To reach out to us. I don't even like the sound of my own voice at this point. Just give me a sec. Shelley says it's because I drink diet drinks and the components of the diet drink don't help, and I'm starting to believe her. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that if you want to reach out to us to make sure that whatever topic you want to reach out to us about is covered on Friday night, I do get lots of emails, but it's harder for me to take that and transition into what we're using. So please continue to use the 1-800 number. I'd like to be able to use this the way it was planned. And you can send a text message to the 1-800 number, which is stored all the way up until we read it on Friday. You can leave a voicemail of up to 2 minutes, which many people have done, that will play on Friday. Or on the night of the show, of course, you can call the 1-800 number and we can have a conversation. So there's lots of ways to reach out to us, and I'd like you to get to the point where you trust that 1-800 number. It is toll-free. You don't have to pay anything, no matter how many texts you send or or how many voicemails you leave. All right? So please feel free to do that, and we'll answer questions. So we had a fun week this week. We covered a lot of territory in terms of our content. We actually feel progressively better about our content and what we're doing, and we've made a big investment. And if you go over to our blog at gypsykiss.com, you will see a post that I made yesterday, and there's a photograph with Shelley of our new equipment setup, and you'll see the same desk that's in front of me right now that enables us to do a lot of different things, including bring you quality content, and not just quality in terms of the content, but quality in terms of the technology, because we've upgraded almost everything from our internet service to a brand new computer. We went from a desktop to a workstation, to our sound mixer, to our iPads that enable us to provide background music to you, and then to the 1-800 number. So we've done a lot in the past over a couple of months, and you're probably just aware of it as we are, because you saw the working through the bugs basically as we added each one of these new technologies. But we're getting to the point where we're very comfortable with each of these new things. It's very busy. You can probably see during our shows where I'm manipulating 3 or 4 different things in order to get you the right transition and the right music and the right songs. And of course, we're incorporating that into Shelley's programming as well. So it's a lot of fun for us. But this ability to stream. So basically, the way this works is I still, from our little location here, I still send out one stream, and that stream goes to a server in Dallas, Texas, and that server is owned by a company called Restream.io. And as far as I can tell, I don't know exactly where, but the company is located in Eastern Europe someplace, I think Czechoslovakia. And if it's well, I'm not going to say anything more about it. I think it's Czechoslovakia. But what then they do is with their service, they can restream, which is why they're called Restream.io. They can restream your single stream to up to 35 different platforms. Now, a lot of those platforms I don't know, and it's because the majority of them, not the majority of them, a good number of the 35 are designed for gamers to communicate with one another. So we decided that the ones that were going to be best for us were continuing to stream to our YouTube channel, continuing or streaming to Facebook. But what we had done on Facebook up to this point is we had shared the finished video over to Facebook. We shared it to Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. So all up until this time, when we ended up on different platforms, it was because we were going out of our way to share to those platforms. Now what happens is we send out one stream, goes to Dallas, Texas, and from there it goes to the 4 platforms that we selected. YouTube, Facebook, even this stream doesn't go directly to YouTube. It actually goes to the server first, and then it goes to YouTube. So it goes to their stream, the one from Dallas, Texas, goes to YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, and Twitch. Now, I think we have 3 subscribers on Twitch and 3 or 4 subscribers, maybe I think it was up to 6 on Periscope. We have over 600 likes and follows, 600 likes and 600 follows on Facebook. So we are getting some traction there, but the amount of time that it saves by being able to stream, because there was some post-production responsibilities whenever we did stream and have to go through that process of sharing, et cetera, now it's all done, and the only thing we have to do is change the image, the thumbnail at Facebook. So it's made our lives a lot easier not having to share. Now, the only negative impact is that it's cut down the number of views on our YouTube channel, but it isn't a big number. But the other thing is we're kind of building a community on Facebook that we didn't have before. I mean, we had people looking at our Facebook page, but now it's gotten progressively more active, and we're very grateful for that. But the best part of all of that relationship with Restream.io was today when I was able to restream to Wonder Hussy Adventures channel. So her subscribers and our subscribers were seeing the same interview simultaneously, and once that interview is completed, it actually stays on her channel as her own video. I think she has 41,000 subscribers. So the last time I checked, she was at 2.5K views on the same video that we've got probably a couple of hundred, because we simply don't have as many subscribers. But it's her property, and she's earning advertising revenue from it, et cetera. So it's actually a very cool tool that we can stream to more than one YouTube channel simultaneously. Now, the subscription we have enables me to do that for one channel, but I'm thinking seriously about upgrading to another subscription that gives me 3 what they call doubles, restream doubles, so that I can restream to other channels. So here's what I'm thinking. The problem is there's only 3, but think about this. We could have a panel on Wednesday night where not only are we restreaming to our channel, a Gypsy's Kiss, at gmail.com or a gypsyskiss.tv, but we could simultaneously stream to the channels of the members on the panel. So like Sean Martinez has his own channel. So there are several people out there that have their own channels that we could restream to. And honestly, that's really kind of cool. It would be a lot of fun. So I don't know. Just a thought. Okay, so hang on. I've got to do something real quick here, and that is get out of mail and get out of the picture and go back to the dashboard. So give me a second while I'm doing this. So come on, the 800 line is open. Come on, that sounds desperate, doesn't it? Call the 1-800 line. Let's have a conversation, and let's talk about some cool stuff. So what I'm trying to do is open up the chat here because I didn't do that before I got started here. So I'm kind of stuck with it. Hold on. Give me 1 second. This is real time, folks. Real time. All right. So while that's heating up, there it is. Okay. I feel better about that. All right. So while that's warming up, I can see you guys now over here. Clearing my throat again. So I can see you guys now over here, and I can see the other chat rooms over here. So I think we're good. But unless you guys start sending me texts, leaving voicemails, or calling the number, this is going to be a real short night because the idea is that we try to answer questions. So let me go back to the questions that I received earlier in the week and cover those first, and maybe while I'm doing that, we'll get a call. So let's see. So this is, let's see, it doesn't say who it's from. It says, I'm wondering, did we read this already? Did Forrest ever mention him taking alcohol with him when he buried the treasure, possibly to suppress the cold? Oh, look, all right, thank you. That's probably too loud. That's probably too loud. Let's talk to Davio. Davio, can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm going to turn down your volume just a little bit, but yes, I can hear you. How are you doing?
Very good, sir. Very good. We're finally getting some rain out here in Nevada City, California, and we're enjoying it. It's nice to have all the dust kind of calm down.
Yeah. So I'm not familiar. I assumed you were in the Bay Area. I'm not, and I spent a lot of time out there, but I don't remember a Nevada City. Whereabouts are you in relation to, say, San Francisco?
I am 3 hours due east. I am just about in Tahoe. I'm about an hour away from Lake Tahoe. I'm just outside Auburn, Grass Valley.
So my daughters and their families, along with their mother, just spent a 1.5 week vacation out in Tahoe after a wedding that they went to in Arizona. So they made a lot of pictures. I love Tahoe.
Nice. Very nice.
They had been there
Beautiful. Great place.
Yeah, they had been there as children, so didn't have a lot of memory of it. So it was good that now as adults, because they're all in their late 20s and 30s, could go back there with their mother. So what else is new with you? What's new? What's new with you in the search?
Well, I would say that I've been working out some kind of code patterns I have found that I'm working out. Most importantly, what I have found is I'm really fascinated with how everybody really hangs on to their answers and their ideas like it's a belief, and they don't want to share it. It's just fascinating how tightly people hang on to the ideas. And I thought that was an interesting topic on how hang on. Oh, I'm breaking up. I'm in a bad place.
Yeah, you're breaking. Well, you're not in a bad place. Let's say Davio personally is in a good place. He just has a bad link. How's that? That sounds better than saying you're in a bad place. I tend to agree with you because I think we all...
That TC stuff with Shelley's really paying off there, Toby. That's really nice.
Oh, is it the softer side? Are you learning some things?
Yeah, it's really paying off. That's really good.
What's amazing?
Yes, I definitely see how it's a belief that I've got the right idea, and it's really hard to shake people into a new belief idea, a new belief structure. So I hang on to this like an switch. It's much easier to change gears I kind of let go of that concept and go, that bites. We're going to now. And as I hang on to it as an art project, I have less emotional, fervor or emotional hang on to. I can let go and go to the next concept, because it's all about going down a rabbit hole and realizing, well, that's completely wrong.
Right. That's a rabbit hole, right?
Yeah. And you have to find the words that take you to the next contiguous answer that brings you, down that or up that rope. And his analogy is rope, like Mark Twain. I believe that's totally the frog and the rope in there is definitely, I believe, an homage of his due to knots in a rope.
You're breaking up real bad. Well, let me just say a couple of things based on your comment. So there's a couple of things that we don't discuss on this channel. The two things that we consistently do not discuss on this channel is religion and politics. And the reason we don't do that is because they are based on belief systems that you or I or anyone else may differ in. So you may be of one religion or no religion at all. You may be of one political opinion or no political opinion at all. But they are beliefs, and
right.
We as humans have a nature to it's in our nature to connect with certain beliefs. And once we make that connection, it's very hard to move away from it. And I think the Fenn treasure starts with a belief, and I'm going to ask you whether or not you agree with this, but the Fenn treasure asks us, first of all, to believe that the treasure exists, that he built and hid a treasure. So there's a certain amount of faith that's required to just be part of that. And then
that's a very good point.
And then that faith starts to evolve into the beliefs associated with what state the treasure is in, and where what it looks like or what the special place is, and you start clinging to those in the same way I would assume you do to whatever your religious beliefs are or whatever your political beliefs are. So it does become kind of a.
I think you're right. It's a slow acclimation.
That's right.
You're totally right. It's a slow acclimation to a concept you're holding on to real tightly, which becomes a belief. Yeah, you're right.
And
that's why I had to change my plan. After 4 years, I had to change how I looked. And so I looked at it like, well, he's trying to say something, that's just on the of the canvas. We don't have to see where the paint's made from. He's telling me it's on this canvas right in front of me. We just have to look, in the texture, perhaps, just kind of not so deep, just kind of on the surface, and that's paid off a lot for me. I feel like I've made great strides, and I feel very confident about my blaze, and then where it's taken me from there. So my confidence is very, very high right now.
Well, well, I make the comparison. I really recently made. I was visiting one of my children, and they brought up the topic of the chest, and they asked me to explain kind of how I had built an interest around this in my retirement years. And I explained to them, I used the metaphor, or the example that I used was how religion, most religions, the majority of religions around the world, whatever they are and however you feel about them, do everything around the idea that in order for you to practice a religion, you have to believe in the existence of a supreme being, and then you can be part of whatever that religion is. And I'm not suggesting one over the other. I'm just saying that's the way it is. Well, in a way, Fenn is, should I say, the Pope. Right. As a matter of fact, when you ask Shelley what tarot card represents Fenn, she says the Hierophant, and that's the equivalent of the Pope. So he's the Pope of this particular treasure religion, and his job is to make sure. And I don't want to say his job is, but what he seems to do is try to ensure that we have a good sense, whether we can see it or not. None of us, there are some of us, there's a very small number that have actually seen the treasure, but we have to believe, in order to move forward, you have to believe the treasure exists. And I think a lot of what he does in his book and everything that has happened since that book is to reinforce the idea that this treasure is out there, that he wants to get you as a result away from your little texting machines, although here we sit with a 6-foot table full of technology, and that he wants you to get out
man.
into
You betcha.
into nature. I should have pulled that picture up for you as well. He wants us to get out into nature to look for the treasure. So I do believe there is a bit of faith involved, and once you have that particular brand of religion, you're going to stick to it, and the more and more you pick out the pieces that work for you, the more and more fervent you are going to become. Because if you've ever sat down and listened to searchers debate their respective solves, I had the opportunity to do that not only at some of these events that I've recorded, but at Fenndango, and they believe in as much in their solutions as the person across the table believes in their solutions. So I can see where it's got some
exactly
the equivalent.
That's what I have found. It's amazing. It's amazing. I think it's an interesting social theory.
Yeah.
I think you're right. You kind of grow into it.
Yeah.
Believe that this thing is actually there, and then you have to convince yourself that you're actually finding things that are going to lead you to it. So that's a lot of belief.
Yeah.
A lot of suspended reality there. That's a lot. And by the way, I'm an old. I've done radio.
Oh.
So I'm glad you're having time with you.
Oh, I want you to find a
tremendous.
Do me a favor. Go find a good place, because that sounded like you were going to compliment what we were doing, and I don't want to miss that. And so go find some place where you can.
Is this any better?
Yeah, try that. Just say it again, because it sounded really good.
Well.
Finally, we get a compliment, and I can't hear it. Yeah, see, it's like it's working against me, Davio. It doesn't want to hear me. It doesn't want me to hear the good stuff.
Hopefully, this gets through.
Nope. All right, Davio, I'm going to cut us off and see if we can take another call. But thank you for trying. And
bye-bye.
You know what? Do me a favor. Send it in a text, and I'll read it. How's that? Because it sounded good.
Cool.
All right. Talk to you later. Thank you for calling. That's my friend Davio, David. Davio 22. Okay, we had a couple of text messages come in. So we've got something from Zozo Rocks. Oh, so Zozo said they had a song. She sent me a link. So let me see if I can actually open that up. Oh. So where is this? So it's at the link that she sent me, and I'm going to have to post this afterwards. So the link, I say she, I'm sorry. The link that they sent me is a link to Flat.io. Caller, hang on just a second. Let me finish this comment, okay? Just hang on a second. And do me a favor, turn the volume down on your computer. So what Zozo...
down.
Okay, so what Zozo sent to me was a link to something called Flat.io, and it's a musical score. So I've got to get it off my phone and onto the chat, and I haven't thought about that just yet. But apparently, what I'll do is once I get that link from here onto the screen up here, not on my screen, into this, I'll put it in the comments box so you guys can see the screen. And it's actually the musical notation for a song. So, Zozo, I guess you have to play somewhere, make that music so that we can listen to it. It looks interesting. Not that I know anything about music, but it looks interesting. All right, caller, what's your name and where are you calling from and what's your question? Oh, did I lose you, caller?
This is Bird.
Hey, Bird.
This is Bird. Michael calling with
that picture. So you want to talk
I need the help. I need help on interpreting the picture.
Oh, okay. So, what kind of help would you like?
I need people to look at the picture and figure out which way to orient the stone, and then figure out which way to go to find where I interpret the treasure to be.
Okay, so I noticed there was a couple of questions in the chat room about this stone. Where did you find this stone?
It was in Wyoming.
And I'm just picking up hints from where the chat room where we saw it earlier. Was that stone in the water when you found it, or out of the water?
It was in the water, some of the coldest water I ever saw in my life.
And did you take it out of the water and put it on the bank so that you could take this photograph?
Yes, I did. That's why you can see the mud line in it.
Right. So tell me this. What do you think it means?
This is the blaze.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only thing I have not found in terms of the treasure. I have found each and every clue.
Mm-hmm.
I have not found the treasure. And what is really hard to believe is that I actually flipped this rock up a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just a chunk of rock,
and
about 1 foot by 1 foot square.
Right.
I flipped it up, and it was covered in muck.
So it has some.
And I walked away from it.
Right. So it looks like it was man-made, right? It has the letters in it. It has the the smaller stones
concrete.
Embedded. Oh, okay. So, tell me what your theory about this piece of concrete is.
I'm not sure, but see how that red stone is in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where a compass would point? Would due north a different direction?
Well, let me go back. Let me go back up a level in my questioning. So you're in Wyoming. You see this object in the creek. You go take it out of the creek. You believe to yourself at some point this might be the blaze.
No.
No. So
no.
What is it?
Not at all.
Okay. So what is it?
I remember Forrest saying that you had to get wet to find the treasure. You had to get wet,
mm-hmm.
and that was the basic thing that I have always based this on. You had to get wet
mm-hmm.
to find the treasure, but he always said the treasure was dry.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, with that in mind,
and I have visited a number of different waterways and different springs and that. And this, when I came upon this spring, I looked at it and I said, okay. So I peeled off my boots and my socks and pulled up the pants and I jumped in there. And the first thing I felt was, okay, have you ever stepped in dog shit and you felt the stuff coming up in between your toes?
No.
That's exactly what it felt like. I'm sure a number of people can feel like it, but there was something flat down there. There was something down there.
All right.
And all I did was reach down there and I said, well, okay, is this the treasure? And I flipped it up. And it was just muck. And I just thought, I'm getting out of here. The water was so cold, it was painful.
All right. So
and I had to go back in the water three times. It was that painful.
Not only that, apparently you were having difficulty with the altitude. So let's do this. So there's a lot to be guessed at here right now. Okay. So all that I can tell is that you found this object, that you think you think that it may mean something, but you're not sure. So where can people who can express their opinions to you about what they see in this object, where can they reach you? You've got an email address that they can send you their opinions on?
Bird. BIRD1.
So BIRD1 at
Carolina.com.
Okay, do that again for me, please, because you're breaking up. So tell me again your email address. Bird1.
Just like the number one.
Yeah.
Not O-N-E.
Right. Bird1 at
Carolina.com.
All right. So I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to hang up now so that I can repeat that for the folks. And for you folks, if you have a comment to make and you want to share your comment with the gentleman, with Michael, you can reach him at bird1 at carolina.rr.com. So write to him. Tell him what you think, okay? And maybe we can get this resolved for him. I like the idea that it's some sort of marker, but we'll find out, okay? Michael, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it. And thanks for sending the picture.
I'm asking for different interpretations because I can only walk so far.
Got it. All right.
Because of my handicap.
And that's what we'll do. That's what we'll ask people to do. Okay?
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. You have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to leave that. You guys got this video to take a look at it. Let me see. I think I'm getting a call here. All right. So while we were doing that, we got a couple of text messages. Okay, somebody asks, who will win tomorrow's UFC fight, Conor McGregor or Khabib? So, don't know. Hadn't thought about it. Didn't even know there was a UFC fight tomorrow. That's how much I know. You're probably calling into the wrong show. I'm sure there has got to be a Twitch channel that's probably loaded with people right now talking about exactly that. So this is Jerry from Texas. He asks, why do people focus on hot springs even though Forrest said this is too simple? Thanks, Jerry from Waco, Texas. So, Jerry, the problem with a statement like that is it assumes that that Fenn has made two distinct statements. Let me take this. Hold on. Caller, hold on just a second so I can answer this question for me, please. In the meantime, make sure you turn down the volume on your computer. So, Jerry, first of all, there's the why question. We don't know why. We never know why Fenn does things. We have to make assumptions, and based on those assumptions, sometimes we can come to conclusions. But generally speaking, those conclusions are our conclusions based on our assumptions. So it's real hard to ask a question or answer a question about why Fenn does anything. It's even harder to answer a question about why the community does anything. Why do people focus on hot springs? Because honestly, that sounds rational. It's warm waters, it's et cetera, et cetera. And Fenn has said to simplify it, but Fenn has also said not to oversimplify it. So those why questions are really hard to answer. Let me take this call. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question?
Good evening to you, Toby. This is
Oh, is it? Did you say sure? I think you're breaking up on me.
This is Cher Strickland.
Hi, Cher. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Very good. Are you on Facebook tonight?
I am on Facebook this evening.
How's the room in there? Is everybody being polite?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good, because I can't see it right now.
I wanted to make a comment about Mr. Bird.
About Mr. Bird's picture?
Well, actually about something that Mr. Bird said.
Okay. Well, his name is Michael Ken. Bird is his email, but I think it's kind of neat that we've decided he's Mr. Bird.
Okay. and maybe this is fodder for discussion.
Okay, that's fair.
He made the statement that Forrest has told us that we have to get wet. I've never read that Forrest has told us that we have to get wet, and it seems that people go out on a tangent with reading into his words what is really not literally there. Am I correct, Toby? Have you understood that Forrest Fenn has told us we have to get wet?
No, just the opposite. I have never heard Forrest use the phrase as some indication that for some reason or the other, in order to find the treasure, we have to get wet. Now, I have myself done research in the area that to me indicates in the poem that you might have to deal with a water crossing, for example. But I have, like you, I have never heard Forrest say you have to get wet in order to find the treasure. I agree with that.
I wish that we could. Maybe I should write a book. What he said, that we should be sure before we go out on a tangent where we spend thousands in the cross country. Clearly, this gentleman is using a Carolina.rr address, and he speaks kind of like I do. It's a long way. It's a long way out there to be misinformed. And he apparently is misinformed when he felt he needed to jump in and have all that toe squishing going on.
He was very descriptive, wasn't he?
I'm glad to hear that you've not had your toes in dog shit lately, Toby.
Yes.
But what I wanted to call and ask, what I wanted to call and get some input on was, I feel that people are looking for the treasure, and the treasure is disguised. It does not look like a treasure. I believe that it's wearing a costume.
So, do you mean camouflaged or literally wearing a costume that makes it look like it's... So let me ask one question first. So, when you say wearing a costume, is the costume that the treasure is wearing, and that's an assumption, right? Is the costume that the treasure is wearing designed to make it look like its surroundings so that it is camouflaged?
I believe that it probably will even be comical.
Really?
We've got hundreds of thousands of people going looking for a 10 by 10 by 5 bronze chest. And it's not going to look like that at all. And that may be one of the reasons why he's so sure that it's not going to be found, is that so many people are looking for that bronze chest when what they need to be looking for may be pretend rock, ammo box, old suitcase.
Oh, interesting. So your theory is that the treasure is embedded in something that effectively hides the fact that it looks like all the pictures we've seen. So we're looking, what you're suggesting is that we're looking, all of us, to this point, except perhaps you, we're all looking for a 10 by 10 by 5 bronze chest with that, what ladders of love or battle of love. What's that image that's on there called? Siege of the Castle of Love. That's what it's called. And we're all looking for that. And you're suggesting that he did something completely different and perhaps hid it inside something, and perhaps even specifically took something with him, like maybe like an old backpack, for example. And we're not looking for an old backpack, although I have to admit, if I saw an old backpack up in the wilderness, I'd want to know what was in it. So you're suggesting not just camouflage, but intentionally hidden inside an object that doesn't look anything like a treasure chest.
Deceptively hidden.
Deceptively hidden. So that's the second time. So my friend Michael Hool uses cunningly hidden, but now you think it's deceptive. Okay, so tell me how you got there. How did you get to that point?
Many times I'll wake up first thing in the morning, and it's as if my subconscious has been toying with this every night.
Mm-hmm.
A week or so ago, I woke up, and time capsule was one of the first things that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some research about a time capsule. Traditionally, what people have come to believe is a time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
In 1930, which would have been his birth year, there was a time capsule found near Plymouth Rock in Massachusetts, and it's at Coal Hill Museum. I'm almost sure that's the name.
Mm-hmm.
And they found it accidentally. That goes back and kind of parallels his saying, "You're not going to stumble upon it." So these people were essentially doing some work, and they came upon a time capsule, and it was embedded in something. Now, he's told us that it's not associated with a structure. It's not associated with a structure, and people assume what associated means.
Mm-hmm.
But associated, if you do a thorough thesaurus search, associated does not always mean what everybody thinks it means.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that one of the most interesting time capsules in the last 100 years was in his birth year, and it involves Plymouth Rock. And so I'm wondering, is he's an archaeologist. Time capsules are essentially an archaeological tool
Mm-hmm.
to capture a point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I believe that 99% of the people are going out and looking for a bronze chest, and what they need to be looking for is not a bronze chest.
So one of the things about a bronze chest is that it is long-lived, right? It would tolerate the elements pretty well. That means with your theory, if we assume that Fenn would prefer, not that he wants it to happen, not that he said it happened, would prefer to this treasure hunt to last for 1,000 years, the implication of that in the context of your theory is that then the time capsule has to have as long a life. Is that included in your theory?
Yes, and if you do research on essentially the time capsule 101,
Mm-hmm.
what he put it in essentially fits the bill. And he's an archaeologist. So if you read about time capsules, then if you think with the time capsule mentality,
Mm-hmm.
let's say hypothetically that Forrest Fenn saw a spot where they were doing construction.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a public area,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes back and he sneaks in and he places it somewhere, and it's covered with gravel, or it's covered with cement, or the gods. Should I even say this? It's in a doorstep, under a doorstep. The 1930 time capsule that was found outside of Plymouth Rock was essentially under the doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been so many in his book. If you look, he has pictures of he and his family, he and his friends sitting in front of the door, sitting on a doorstep. He talks about being at his home in Temple, and he drops his toys off the porch.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the doorstep. Where is he most at home? Where is he most comfortable? At a home. He's on a porch with the doorsteps. So it could be, and I have said, and I'm going out on a tangent here. It's Friday night. I guess we talk about sex. I believe that the treasure is probably, he's really a ladies' man.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that perhaps he may have enjoyed the freedom of an open marriage, and I believe that his treasure was where his heart was, where he enjoyed freedom, and that it is hidden. It is hidden and camouflaged, and it does not look anything like what 99% of people are looking for.
All right. So let me go back to the question that I started with, or not started with, but I had when you started with. Tell me, so you have this theory that involves the time capsule, that involves him in personal relationships, et cetera, et cetera. What was it about what Fenn has either written or spoken that started you on the development of this theory? That's the question that I asked you before. How did you get started in developing this theory? What was it?
I believe my thinking that it was encapsulated. That he early on that he would buy artwork from struggling artists, and then he would bronze them. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of an encapsulation mm-hmm. that he would encapsulate. And I, I kind of make suggestions to myself at night, and I don't know where the time capsule came from. Mm-hmm. Also the idea that precocious men are burying themselves in things. Mm-hmm. There was a gentleman who buried himself in a Pontiac. Mm-hmm. Overseas, a Chinese man buried himself in a car. A strange man straddled his motorcycle and mm-hmm. was buried. So the thought that he may have been going to fling himself on something early on, I believe that it's in something. Not a structure. No, not right. A structure. But it's not like you think it. It's not like you think it's going to be. And I giggle when I laugh at people who are showing video of them, and they're out looking for a bronze treasure. I always qualify. What would he do? What would I do if I was Fenn? Mm-hmm. I sure wouldn't hide it. Mm-hmm. I would make it into something. I'd hide it in something else. I'd put it in something else, something trashy, something ugly that nobody would ever look in.
For what you're suggesting is a bit of whimsy on Fenn's part.
Or how about if you just put it in a whole bunch of cement blocks? The mm-hmm. 8 by 6 cinder blocks.
Kind of like
just enclose it in a bunch of cinder blocks, and throw it out there,
right?
And it looks like trash. Mm-hmm. It looks like everybody's trash.
All right. Well, that sounds like a darned interesting theory, and I think you may be onto something. And I think that as you continue to evolve, as you allow that theory to evolve, you need to get back in touch with us and see how much further you get. Because I'll always ask you, kind of, where did it come from and where are you now in terms of the theory? But it's certainly as plausible as anything else we've heard. And it doesn't require require stepping into puppy poop in bare feet, which honestly
I know.
Do me one more favor before we say goodnight. Say wet.
Okay.
Say wet.
Are you testing my southern accent?
I am. I just like the way you say it, so say wet for me.
Toby, you and I both know that treasure is not wet in the traditional.
You're right. You're right.
Not wet. It's like not. Everybody else thinks.
It's not wet, and it's not hid in a tar.
No, sir.
All right. Love you, girl. You have a good evening, and thanks for calling in tonight. We appreciate it.
Okay. Love your show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. It's not wet. I spent a lot of time. One of my daughters went to school in North Carolina, and I just loved going down there to listen to the people talk. So let me see what I've got here in terms of, got a missed call. Okay, one from, let me see. Do I have one or two? So this is from Minotaur Moreno, Justin. Oh, I'm going to get anything. Okay, so I said this. Let's see who we've got coming in. So I got a call coming in, so hold off if you're calling until we've done this one. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question?
Joey, my name is Michael calling.
Michael?
I'm calling you back to let you know my computer's already been hacked.
Uh-oh.
Since our conversation, my computer has already been hacked and people are looking for information.
Uh-oh. Well,
I've lost my whole computer since our computer.
All right, do me a favor. So the worst thing you can do is continue talking here. So turn your computer off and disconnect it from your internet.
No, it's off.
Okay,
it's off. I'm just going on my phone.
All right. Well, stick with us in the chat room and keep us up to date in there, okay?
Yeah, it's gonna be next June before I can go back up on the mountain because of the snow. So.
Well, when you do go back, you make sure you stay safe.
All right. Bye.
All right, sir. You have a good evening.
Bye.
Okay, just give me 1 second so I can get to that call, and so we're gonna take care of that just for the night. Okay, so let me go back to Minotaur Moreno's question. So Justin from Dallas, Texas, also known as Minotaur Moreno, in the forums and in the room. On your show earlier today with Sarah, she brought up something I have given quite a bit of thought to. What are the valid reasons for using waters in stanza 2 than water in stanza 3? He'll hang out and listen. So I think, this is, I hate to do this, but to me it's obvious. And that is that the use of waters in stanza 1, in the line that he identifies as the first clue, the line that he advises us not to do anything until we understand where that was, is to make a significant distinction between the word waters, which is only found in a couple of uses, and the word water, which is regular. So, my opinion is biased towards the fishing regulations, the New Mexico State fishing regulations, which uses the phrase warm waters. And it strikes me that for a man that spent the latter half of his life in New Mexico, that would be a perfectly rational explanation. Justin also asked, second question, on your show earlier today was, it's just a repeat of it because he didn't think I saw it. So let's go back here. This is from Bob Patterson in Twin Falls, Idaho. I haven't heard that before. Has anyone else found the 4 waypoints found from the poem itself? I don't know how to get the lines to cross with 4 waypoints. Please text me or let me know. And his email address is Bob Patterson with 2 T's, Patterson 555 at gmail.com. So if you've found the 4 waypoints in the poem, let Bob know so he can borrow your thoughts and use them to find the treasure. So this is a message. Oh, this is interesting. So somebody's actually watching the video that we did with Sarah this afternoon, and they've sent us a text message relating to Sarah. Okay, so whoever was calling in, the phone line is open. Dial that number quickly so that you can get through. Michael is... we're going to put Michael on hold for the evening because he's got to take care of some business, and let's talk to some other folks. Okay. So where was I before that? I think we were okay in terms of questions in the chat room. Let me check real quick. Let's see who else showed up since we last talked to you guys about this. So that goes down to somewhere down at the bottom. Mr. Winger, 1951. Wait till your phone starts clicking. Arthur Donnelly, shortest distance between. Let's see. So I wonder if there's anything. I think somebody did go through Fenn's trash at one point. Aaron says, AGK, you're a boss. Nice show. Well, that's because I use Boss Jock, right? So, so I made up a new sound effect for Cow Lazars. So here it is. Get it? Cow lasers, huh? Ah, Jesus. I am so original. Okay, I don't see any other questions in the room for me. William Ortiz, how did the word brothel come up in our chat room? Let's see. Okay. So 23 Monarcha says, just because it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it does not mean it is a duck. But the big question is the treasure weigh it? I have always had a thing for that Southern accent. If I somehow encountered a woman in my travels with that Southern accent, I would start asking them questions just so I could hear them talk. I just thought there's something melodic about it. I don't know why. Let's see. So Mr. Winger says, since Toby is ex-NSA, someone should ask him about the feasibility of Fenn's computer being hacked. Any computer can be hacked. I don't care how you can. Alan Kay is in the room. He's with Norton. With enough technology. Hang on, let me take this and caller, give me just a second to answer this question. Sean, I'm sorry, I know you're not a caller. So Alan Kay works for Norton. I think he's in the room. I saw him earlier. He will tell you that it is possible for any computer to be hacked, assuming that you have a skilled hacker that can do it. It isn't. Most people don't have the skills necessary, but I know, and probably Alan knows, and you should know by now, that in the right location, anything can be hacked. The Russians, the Koreans, the Iranians, and the Chinese have hacked cities, right? The infrastructure in cities. In some cases, they have hacked the Pentagon. And I know from experience that those are some of the most guarded, security-wise, computers on the face of the planet. So a good hacker can get into any computer, regardless of where it is. And if you're on a network like you and I'm on CenturyLink, my computer is eminently hackable. Now, they're going to have to get through my Norton software to do it, and it's going to take a very skilled hacker to do it. But any computer is hackable, and it's an assumption you should make when you use your computer for whatever you're using your computer for. Now, the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the North Koreans are not interested in anything that's on my computer, likely not interested in anything that's on your computer, so you're not going to see that level of hacking gravitas, if you will. But any computer is hackable, and you should treat it that way. Sean Martinez from Clovis, New Mexico. I already know that. So,
yes, sir.
What have you got to say, sir?
How's it going this evening?
Well, so far so good. It started out kind of slow, but you know what? I've just had, like I said, I've had a really good day today. This is a good day, and if we close it out with a couple of phone calls like this one, it will be even better, and I will sleep the sleep of the dead. So tell me what you think.
Very good. Well, any computer, any system, any infrastructure is hackable. Similarly, any riddle is solvable. Mm-hmm. And the poem that we are all trying to decipher and pick apart and solve can be essentially hacked and figured out. And I believe it's going to take a skilled hacker, since we were on that subject, to figure that out and decipher the poem and recover the chest.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Being, as someone mentioned in the room, Mr. Winger said, ex-NSA, I love that theory. I think that's a really cool theory, that in order to figure out the riddle in the poem, you're going to hack it. That's very different from the concept of deciphering, because hackers don't decipher. The material that they deal with is very detailed, but it's very raw. They don't spend time decoding things unless it's passwords, and then there's systems that do that for you. So I think this concept of hacking the poem deserves. You know what? I think I'm going to use that in my next week's theme, Sean. Can we hack the poem? How do we hack the poem?
How do we hack the poem? Well, from my perspective, part of doing something like that is understanding the system that it's created on. Mm-hmm. The database in this respect would be Forrest Fenn, mm-hmm. and figuring out the man who is Forrest Fenn, where his thoughts lie, his emotions lie, his hopes, his dreams, his failures, all of those different things, and bringing them all together would essentially lead you to where his special place would be and what would lead him there. And in my opinion, should you figure those things out, it will lead you there as well in the same way that he was led.
So let's build out this architecture. So the secret to which we are all seeking the answer is embedded someplace in that poem, right?
Absolutely.
So we can agree on that. So what you're suggesting is that in order to find the secret inside, and let me use the metaphor, and Lori James can correct me on this if I'm using this in the wrong way. Let's use the metaphor of the cell phone that's in front of me. Let's say that let's say the person that was hacking Michael at his home wanted a copy of the messages that he sent, even the voicemail that he sent. So they're going to make an attempt to hack my phone, get through the cellular system, which you and I both know is possible, and get into my phone past the phone security that's there. And it is an Apple iOS phone, so it has a very high level of security. But you and I also
very high level.
But you and I also know that it is indeed hackable, that people do this all the time. So what you're suggesting is the poem is like my iPhone, and that in order to get to the secret hidden in the poem, you have to get into my iPhone, find some of these objects that make sense to you. But in order to do that, you need to understand. You need to So you need to understand the person who architected the iPhone. Right? So you need to know how, you and I both know that in the world of hacking, that people develop products, defenses that are very much based on their personalities.
They are, very much.
So
understanding the programming and being able to see all, I'm certified in digital forensics. Being able to look at a screen full of numbers and letters and read the programming as it is set up, essentially, it would just appear a bunch of numbers and letters to anyone else. But if you're trained in the area of deciphering code, then it will stand out to you essentially. And the more you investigate the makeup, I hate to say genetic makeup, but the programming makeup of any given system, it's like learning your ABCs. You learn how to read it over time. And so over time that you spend trying to figure out Forrest, filtering all of the information that comes in, especially the things that have been said based on emotion or feelings or thoughts that he's had, will over time begin to make more sense to you, and you'll be able to read that better over time. And eventually, if you get really good at it, write it on your own and essentially mimic the same program that has been established to, including those safeguards. You'll be able to recognize those as a safeguard that is trying to keep you away from something or direct you towards something else.
What's interesting is more than once referred to the manner in which he constructed the poem as working on it the way an architect would have. So
absolutely.
I'm going to make a suggestion to everybody in the room, which I think is really cool, and that is a couple of weeks ago, Shelley was over for a regular show, and we usually start working, and then we tried to relax because it was a Thursday because we had her show coming up, and she said, do you want to watch a movie that Kevin and I watched last night? And I said, what was it? And she said, Ready Player One. and
new
I
movie, video game.
it's a movie that's, and I'm not a big science fiction fan, but she suggested this movie and she said, I think you'll like it. And so I watched it and I got more intrigued by it. And the reason was it describes a process. It's kind of the movie implementation of what Sean is talking about right now, that there's this entity that is the architect of this very complex world, and that in order to find the secret, win the game, whatever it is, you have to understand how he constructed this world, but he's dead. The architect is dead. And it's not helping. Every time you need more information, he's actually inside this game world that exists. And it involves, there are hackers, there are people that manipulate the code to make it seem like it's doing things, but it's not. I'm going to suggest, if you haven't already, take a look watch the movie, and you can get it. It's viewable on all the movie, like the Netflixes and the Amazons of the world, the Google Plays. But if you get a chance, watch Ready Player One. It's not.
I've seen the previews. I haven't watched it.
Yeah,
yet,
watch it. You
I have seen the previews.
You and Allie do some Netflix and chill, and
absolutely
watch Ready Player One.
And you know what, Toby? Some people may think that that my approach may be overthinking it and requiring specialized knowledge, which Forrest has said that's not something that is required. However, utilizing his map and his structure and his direction thus far has resulted in zero in terms of anyone finding the chest. So, in my opinion, a person who's specialized in any area should utilize all the tools, skills, knowledge, and abilities that they have available to them to approach this as they would anything else. I believe that would be more successful than following what's the word for it? The structure that he's given us thus far, which is essentially playing his game. And if we can get past that and utilize what the technology and the skills and abilities we have available to us, I believe every searcher will be more successful in the long run than they have thus far.
Well, my sense is that you will not only be criticized for not following the rules of the game, you will be criticized for being blasphemous, and I admire you for that. I admire that.
Well,
I think it's going to take.
I understand that. I understand that. The thing about that, Toby, is based on my investigation into Forrest Fenn thus far, is you cannot take everything he says as gospel or as complete and total solid truth and fact, but rather weigh and measure whether that's going to get you closer to the chest, further away, or if it's just something that's going to create chaos in your investigation or your search and hold you up along the way.
Well, for the number of conversations that you and I have had, you know that I really appreciate the conversations that we do have, because I really feel like you're an out-of-the-box thinker, and I'm sure that people will say to you, as they have to me and others, that Forrest doesn't want us thinking out of the box, but I think he even said something in reference to you have to think out of the box, and he said, no, you need to get back in the box. And to me, that's almost a direct, that's almost a instruction to get out of the box, right? When somebody tells me to get in the box.
Well, the way I like to see it, Toby, and I agree with that, thinking out of the box, but what I've essentially done is I'm putting the box that is Forrest Fenn's inside of my own box. And therefore it's in the middle of my box, and I'm staying within my realm of thinking, and he's just in there with me. You know, I'm trying to keep bringing his box into my own, and let's pick it apart, and let's take it apart and see how it works.
Well,
and in doing so, we can find out where the chest is, essentially, in the end.
So I'm going to play, since I have a little bit of time this weekend, I am going to play with his hacking theory and see if it results in a program. And then you'll, of course, have to be on the panel, Sean. panel show on Wednesday so we can talk it further. By the way, I don't know whether you
Very good, Toby.
you were here earlier and you heard the comment that I made about being able to stream simultaneously to another YouTuber's channel. So maybe the next time
I saw that.
Maybe the next time you're on the panel, we can simultaneously stream to your channel as well, just to see if there's any, cross-pollination, for lack of a better way to describe it. I'd like to try it at least.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. That sounds great. I will not keep you any longer.
Our best to Allie Jeffs.
Very good.
Have a good evening, sir.
Evening, Toby.
Bye-bye.
You too.
All right. Phone lines are open. Text lines are open. Send me a text. Try to call in. Now would be a good time to dial that number quickly before somebody else does. Toby Fan 3000 says, if I find it, I'm calling Wonder Hussy. We all love her. And after today, I think we found out more about her. She seems to be about the age of my younger daughters, in that early 30s kind of age, and has that same joy for life. It was cool because at some point we had I didn't do callers this afternoon because I didn't want it to slow down the pace of the interview, but we did have text messages coming in, and one of the messages I did an interpretation, and the message was short, and it said, "Are you asking Sarah? Are you in love?" And I really felt like what he meant to say was, "Are you in a relationship?" So I asked Sarah that, and she said, "I'm not in a relationship, but I am in love with life." And I thought it was a great answer. And again, it reminded me of conversations that I have with my daughters, because they just seem to be that same level of excited about life and what they get out of it, and their travels and all these other things. But she's a really interesting person. I'm going to strongly recommend that you watch the interview, because it was a fun interview. She has a playfulness about her that shows up in her videos, and I think the work that she does is good. And she wants to get more into streaming. We had a long conversation about that, about streaming, because I think she has a great potential for. She does these videos where she travels. It looks like she does a lot of editing. I know she does a lot of editing, and I suggested to her that maybe a show that talks about the behind the scenes of developing each one of her videos would be a fun live stream. So we got a text coming in here. Let's see, Toby, you have given me a tingle. Ooh. Are you a ladies' man like Forrest Fenn? Shame on you. Ooh, God, I hope that's a female and not a male. Well, I'm happy to do that for you. You have given me a tingle as well with that little text message, so thank you for that. So, am I blushing? All right. So phone lines are open. We're at the 8:30 mark. So I feel like we've done enough damage tonight. I don't know, have we? But I'll try to keep the lines open until 9 o'clock and continue talking about. So I had started talking about what we did this week on our programming, and the topic that we had picked, for discussion, not only our Tuesday show, about interpreting rather than debating hints and clues, or the definitions, not debating hints and clues. And I wanted to make that clear. I wasn't suggesting that we should stop the debate between the hints and the clues. I was suggesting that we stop the debate between the definitions of hints and clues, and that ultimately it has to be treated as intelligence, and then it can be classified, and you can determine whether or not it's helpful to you. But this new theory that Sean is suggesting, and that was kind of proposed, I guess, by the idea that Michael had been hacked, and then Mr. Ringler's question. I'm sorry, not Mr. Ringler. Who was it? Hang on, let me go back up here. Mr. Winger's, question about my experience in NSA. And that is, everything can be hacked. And then Sean Martinez picking up on that and suggesting maybe that what we need to do is start thinking about hacking the poem. And that led to the conversation about who's the architect, because in order to hack the poem, you have to know how the architect pulled it all together. And that led to the conversation about go and watch Ready Player One. I am going to recommend that you do that, because if it doesn't feel like you're watching a science fiction movie about the Fenn treasure, come back and tell me that, because I think if you watch it, you're going to go, oh my gosh, it's kind of looking what, it feels like, or the movie is like looking for Fenn's treasure. So let's hack that baby, for lack of a better word. So not that has anything to do with the NSA, because the NSA. So Arthur says, thanks, Toby, for a good program today and tonight. That was a fun program. I saw you in the room, Arthur. That was a great program with Wonder Hussey, with Sarah Jane. I prefer to use her real name because it is a very pretty name. Her name is Sarah Jane Woodall. And she had a couple of questions about how she came up with the name Wonder Hussey. And her response was, my mother was Wonder Woman and my father was a flaming hussy, or something like that. It was really, again, very cute. She's very cute, very playful, very conversational, doesn't have any problem talking through the answers to all the questions that she was getting from the various people in the chat room, as well as the questions that she was getting on our 1-800 line. 1-800 line is open. Send me a text message, make a call, let's talk. And if you have that, if you're a female with that southern accent, I'll just keep asking you questions so I can hear you talk. How's that? So that's my tinkle for the night. Okay, so we've talked to Davio. I didn't see K-Pro in the room tonight. Did I miss her? And I didn't see R.F. Hecky in the room. Did I miss her? Because she promised me she was going to call and tell her when you see her or when you talk to her that I made a sound effect for her. Here it is. This is the R.F. Hecky sound effects. This is what she asked for. And this was the last one. So, Aaron, this was the last one she asked before you. So this was the last one of my cards that I had space for. Here it is. So she said she wanted something that sounded like it was fairy dust. So that's as close as I can come to the spreading of fairy dust. Okay, I don't see any more questions in the room. All right. No, there's no questions in the room. Let me just make sure. Let me go through one last thing. Oops. So give me just a second so I can look real quickly and make sure I didn't ignore anybody. So Minotaur Moreno, a Gypsy's Kiss, healthy debate is good. If everyone is open-minded, we all can learn. We agree with that principle, Minotaur. I think that once you move away from debate and asking questions and allowing them to be open. So here's my secret in terms of debate. Instead of promoting my position on the matter, I ask questions about the opponent's position on the matter. So it is rare that I'll make a statement. I just keep asking questions on their opinion and listening to their solution, and not necessarily agreeing with it, because we're not required to agree with their position, but we should at least be fair. We are not required to listen or understand their position. We are not required to ask questions. We can go into the debate with the plan that we're just going to talk, and when there's a break, they get to talk. And so honestly, I don't feel like that moves the debate forward. You've heard me in the past refer to the Socratic approach to developing learning. And that was what Socrates did to his students. And Socrates never answered questions without then asking a question. So he forced his students to think about this. So the next time, and I'm going to suggest you try it out, you may already be doing a lot of this, but the next time you enter into a debate, whether it's in a chat room or in a forum or in any other modality, whatever it is, maybe even a telephone conversation like we were having with the folks tonight, instead of simply stating your position, just keep asking questions, open-ended questions. What, where, who, when, how. Avoid the question why, because why is perceived by the mind as the beginning of the interrogation, right? It's a question. It's a question of question, right? So if I were to say to you, "What sign are you?" and you responded Gemini, and I said, "What's a Gemini like?" and you started telling me what a Gemini was like, and I don't know the signs of the zodiac, so I can't tell you. And then I were to say to you, and so you were to say a Gemini's biggest problem is that they are perceived as two-faced. And if I were to say to you then, why is being two-faced bad or good? The minute I use that word why, your defenses go up, the person's defenses go up, and so it changes the conversation real rapidly. So just as a personal favor to me, you don't have to do a personal favor to me, as a recommendation, the next time you get into a discussion about your position on your theories about the Fenn treasure versus someone else's position on their theories about the Fenn treasure, see if you can avoid making your points, but instead just keep asking them questions and see what happens. Because what happens, generally speaking, is they start asking you questions. And it's going to be that conversations of questions, right, back and forth, that is going to help us develop progressively better solutions to decipher the riddle in the poem, to hack the poem that the grand architect put together for us. So I'm going to strongly suggest you try that approach the next time that you get into a conversation with that. So this is Ready Player One. First riddle similar to Warm Water's Halt. Look at it differently. So I didn't give a name. So 916, tell me your name and where you're calling from so that I can let folks know. Oh, I recognize this area code. Elizabeth from Maryland here. The chapter in The Thrill of the Chase that stood out as being odd to me, like it didn't belong, was No Place for Biddies. Mentions the borders, remember? I think it is a clue that you're going to have to cross a creek, ? Or cross some kind of area. What's your take on that chapter? That chapter, Elizabeth, substantiated some of the work that we're doing in New Mexico, in northern New Mexico, but on the border between Colorado and New Mexico. What was interesting to me about that chapter is that it popped out at me, and as one of the aberrations do, and it indicated to me that if I did analysis on it, it stood out. It was one of those things. To me, it was like that chapter. To me, was like the comment at the end of the treasure chapter where he talks about the dream he had with Captain Kidd and Gardner Island, et cetera, et cetera. So that just, boom, as an analyst, just jumped out at me. The one about the biddies jumped out at me as well. And so we've incorporated some of the intelligence that we found in there into our solution. And that's one of the ways that we found ourselves up on the border between Colorado and New Mexico. So there's some of that in there. I'm not going to ask anybody else to believe that. And I suppose the obvious question at that point is, Elizabeth, what do you think it means? What's your take on that chapter? Okay, let me go through. Let's see. So Telly Brown, AFK. We are AFG. So I'm going to assume that's meant for us. Why would I discuss my theories, Toby? Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't you discuss your theories? How are you going? So most scientists publish their theories in order for other scientists to read them, evaluate them, and make suggestions to them, make recommendations to them. So the big reason to talk about your theories is so that you can improve your theories. If you keep your theories inside of yourself, they're never going to get any better. You've got to test those theories by proposing them to other people and allowing those other people to suggest improvements to you. That's how they get better. That's why. Let's see. You will not. Okay, so phone line is open, and I know there was a couple of people that tried to call while I was on the phone with other folks. So the phone lines are open. So if you dial it now, and you will get through because I'm not talking to anyone. So this is a response from Elizabeth. She said, "Wow, I thought the same," and also Gardner Island as well. Yeah, those little intelligence aberrations do pop out at you, don't they? Let's see. Martin Marietta, it was a joke to Toby since he said asking why was confrontation. Oh, okay. Sorry. I take everything seriously. I'm that kind of guy. Telly Brown, AGK, sorry, I was just joking about asking why. You know what? I hope that I wasn't being too aggressive in my response, but it was an opportunity for me to answer that question, because that question comes up a lot when I'm teaching classes. I actually teach a class in journalism. I haven't for years, but I used to teach a class in journalism, and I always used to say that, and students would say, "Why not use why?" And so I would always have to explain why you wouldn't use why and how it prevents you from learning, because part of being a journalist is learning more about the subject than you knew when you started the process. So, and the other thing about why is I always feel like the word why belongs to children. Having raised 6 of my own and 24 foster children, I once sometime in their evolution, they pick up on the why word. And they're not being offensive. They just don't know, and they're looking for answers. And so they start asking why, and you answer them. Why is an apple red? And you try to give them a non-scientific reason why the apple is red. Simple things like, well, that's because it would contrast with the green of the tree, and you can find it. Why? And they go on through that. And it's an amazing process just to watch the child learn. Now, there's a funny place at which they realize what they're doing to you by asking the question why, that they're just playing with you. And you have to be smart enough as a parent, of course, to understand the distinction. But I've always felt like the word why belongs to not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not implying that if you ask why, you're a child. I'm just saying that for me, whenever I hear the word why, the first thing that comes into my mind is that period in time in each of my children's lives, very young, preschool, but talking, where they started asking the why question. And I have one daughter, her name is Erica. I used to call her my monster baby, which she loved. She now has her own daughter, and her own daughter is just turning 1. I'm going to be out there in Boca Raton in November visiting with them because it's her first birthday, and her name is Everly. And the other day I was talking to Erica on the phone, and she said, "Dad, she's a monster baby." And so Erica's baby inherited her personality. But she said she has a lot of personality, but she's a monster baby. And I thought it was cute. Anyway, the point that I was trying to make is Erica was my baby girl that the most of when she was little. She's 30-something now. But when she was little, that why question was constant from her. And I don't know that she ever made me frustrated with me. At some point, I just couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny to me that she could develop this why, I always felt like she was just playing with me. And for that, it was just fun to listen to. So why for me belongs to the children. That's why. Sean Martinez says, a Gypsy's Kiss, ask why once you've gathered all else you need from the conversation. The last question, which is a toss-up on whether you'll get an answer or not. Thank you, Detective Sergeant Martinez. Thank you for that, because I think that's really good advice. And Telly, please don't. I did not take offense at your question, and if I answered it like I took offense, I didn't mean to, and I apologize for that if I did. So AGK from Telly again. AGK, it's good to know, since I am very inquisitive and people do get upset at me, I want to learn from their experience. And some take it as much as me challenging them. This may be why. And Telly, the only recommendation that I can so make the only recommendation that I can make after literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of interviews, is that nobody is offended when you ask them those open-ended questions and you allow them to answer fully. And if you want examples of that, go back to any of the interviews, the It's All About You interviews that we've done over the past several weeks. I think we were up to the one that we did today was number 14. And you'll see that one of people open up when you allow them to open up, and you do so without making assumptions. You just let them tell your story. And every time you do, I became a quasi-expert, literally, in hundreds of topics because I had to build documentaries. I can tell you more about Moscow because I spent 3 months in Moscow, not only researching it, but asking Moscovites questions about Moscow. And so I learned about Moscow, and it's an opportunity to learn not only about other people, but what they're thinking. You know, I have the benefit of the search is not the only thing in my life, and Shelley will tell you that I will, if I meet someone who is open to the idea of answering questions, I will keep asking questions until they get tired. Shelley eventually will have to stop me, because I just want to know about them. And it's in my nature to do so. And if I can incorporate that into the way I run my life, or the way that I think, or the way I raise my children, or the way that I maintain my relationships, so much the better. And I love having those conversations. And Shelley has learned that the way that I pay back all of this is she asks me questions. And she's very good about listening to the answers. As a matter of fact, you can watch it in, her show is all about proposing these principles of relationship development that actually come from the book and from experience and from research. And then she asks me my opinion on the matter, and it gives me a chance to kind of pay back for all that information collection that I had done in my life, and give back to her and to her program by answering those questions. So conversations for me are all about asking the other individual open-ended questions. And honestly, it's one of the most fun things that I do in my life. And further, honestly, it was how I built a career, by being really good at asking questions, and it paid off. So, Tally, I am a naturally curious person. It's hard for me to go through a day without trying to find out something new, even if it's, looking at a computer, discovering an opportunity, and taking advantage of that opportunity. And as a matter of fact, you're going to see next week, we're going to make a couple of announcements that really are the result of my curiosity, and how we could leverage that into what we're doing on A Gypsy's Kiss. So, okay, let me see, where are we in terms of time? We are at 8:52. So I've got time for a couple more text messages and maybe even a short call. I'll go back to my recommendation. Watch Ready Player One. You really enjoy it. Just watch it in the context of you as a Fenn treasure hunter, and tell me if it doesn't give you a little tingle, as it was described earlier this evening. All right. So you guys, I have to tell you, you guys have been the end to what has thus far been a wonderful day for me. It started, like I said, I went out to the shooting range, and I was shooting at the range for me is a very relaxing thing. So it was very relaxing. And then I had this wonderful conversation with, hang on, let me get this call. So I had this wonderful conversation. Caller, give me just a second to finish this comment. In the meantime, make sure you turn down your audio. So I had this wonderful interview and conversation with Sarah Jane, and then I started putting together tonight's show and the things that I wanted to talk about, and hoping that you guys would contribute to the show, and you have. So I got to tell you, it's been a great day for me, and I want you to know that you all are kind of a cherry on top of my banana split of a day. I don't know, that's probably somebody for somebody that doesn't eat banana splits. You're really the topping on it. So, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question?
Hey, Toby, it's Twin Jim. How you doing?
Hi, Twin Jim. How are you doing? Oh, I'm going to love this because you're going to have a hard question. I can tell already.
No, I don't have a question.
Oh, okay.
Colorado is where I live, and I am just wondering. Well, first, thank you so much for your show. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for watching.
I know it's probably not easy without Shelley being there, but you're doing a yeoman's job. So good work.
Well, she and Kevin.
Was wondering.
Let me just. She and Kevin,
Shelley
and Kevin, her husband, are at Route 66 Casino, watching the Jim Gaffigan. He's a comedian. For those of you who don't know him, but they're watching the Jim Gaffigan show tonight. So I wasn't about to take him away from that.
Wow.
So, okay, so I interrupted. Go ahead.
No. Well, I don't know. I just was going to ask you your thoughts about the rapid fire of posts this past week, and on Dow's and on Mysterious Writing, and then the radio silence, not only from Forrest, but on the blog. What do you make of it?
Yeah, so there was a couple of things. Number one, I guess I was surprised that over the past couple of weeks there have been, 2 or 3 scrapbooks. But it was interesting because the scrapbooks weren't the level of detail of the scrapbooks that ended up in, some of which ended up in Too Far to Walk or Once Upon a While. So that was the first thing. The questions on Mysterious Writings were not obtuse. I didn't feel like we were getting new information. They were very plainly written and responded to. So, and then all of a sudden, radio silence. Now, there was a period that I thought, right after the raffle drawing, that it was my opinion that Fenn was starting to feel like he had overextended himself, that he was being too active. And for months now, ever since last February, he's been talking about pulling back. And I saw some pullback back in May of 2017. I thought there was some there. I actually talked about it on a couple of programs. So I think there's a cycle to Fenn's approach to all of this. And that is he feels like he's done too much, so he goes into a downward cycle of not commenting. Then something on the blogs, and I know he started to watch YouTube, then something stimulates him to kind of, and I think it's not necessarily set the record straight, just to get back in the game. Because I think the one thing that a man like Fenn, and I'm not saying Fenn, and I'm going to say this as a person who probably has the same emotional characteristic. I think the one thing that a man or woman with a personality similar to Fenn's doesn't look forward to or wants to prevent is irrelevance. And I think when he goes quiet like that for a while, what happens is the YouTubers start producing content and start asking hard questions, and the blogs erupt with conversations. And I think at some point it's a combination of the fact that he needs to correct the record. Lord knows he's let me know that things that I've said he wasn't happy with in various forms. I remind him, of course, that the Constitution guarantees me that right. But I think more than that, I think there's a point at which he just doesn't want, no, I'm not going to say this about Fenn, that folks with Fenn's personality, and I am one of them, don't want to become irrelevant. That's their biggest fear. Is some people are afraid of heights, some people are afraid of talking to strangers, some people, there's all these fears, but there's one, public speaking. I think public speaking is the number one fear. But for some of us, there's a fear of being irrelevant, and I think he may fall into that category. And I think when you see a sudden influx of commentary from him, whether it's scrapbooks or Mysterious Writings or commentary to Thor or responses to any of the YouTubers that they may, where they've written him, I think that's part of it. I think he wants to make sure that we know he's still relevant, and I don't disagree with that. right? As long as he's alive, he's going to be relevant. After he passes, in some ways, he's going to be relevant. And I think sooner or later we have to accept that that the difference between him being alive and him not being alive is going to be whether or not we're going to see a scrapbook or not, or another comment from him. So one has to question when he passes and we don't see that influx of whatever it is, because I don't feel like anything that was done in the past 2 weeks was helpful in terms of our search. What we're going to have to ask ourselves is, what happens when he's not doing that? What happens to the community? What happens to us? Where do our levels of confidence go? So I think that's part of it. I think it's just the need to be relevant. My opinion. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't think Forrest will ever be irrelevant for folks that have been involved in the search, and I think he'll even reach people, once he does pass through what he's done. I think he's done something that will live on. But I definitely, my hope is that it's gone very quiet because everybody's out doing their last boots on the ground, and when they come back, it's going to generate a lot of conversation.
I think I agree with you. I think people are seeing. So part of it was the expectation that was that he set back in February. Give me a chance to adjust my microphone here. That the expectation that he set back in February, where he suggested that his gut feeling was that the treasure would be found this summer, and that created a lot of activity. It continued through the summer. Even as we were getting closer to the end of summer, there was this conversation about, is it going to be today or tomorrow? And then the end of summer arrived, the treasure hadn't been found, and there was this fall off in, I don't want to say enthusiasm, but in like, okay, what now? It wasn't found. Because I think there's a lot of treasure hunters. There are, every treasure hunter believes that they are the one that has the potential to find the treasure. But I think there's a lot of us as well who would just like the treasure to be found, like find this damn thing so we can go on with our lives. And then of course we'll go through that period of mourning that, where we go through the 5 stages of grief or whatever it is, as it has become found. And so winter comes along. We have to make plans for winter. We worry that the conversations won't be as full-bodied, because it's winter and we're not talking about, we're like I said, we're having a show on what do you want us to talk about over the winter, because we're not going to have any pictures from, Rio de los Pinos. So I think there's a little bit of that, but I'm glad to see that you're as excited about, the future, the next June or April, May or June, when the spring comes back and we start going out on our treasure hunt and taking pictures and sharing pictures and hoping that somebody is just that little bit closer.
Well, I've also been thinking a lot about, this is going to end at some point, whether some people want it or some people don't. It is going to end. And when it ends, my hope and my wish is that folks don't stop searching and stop trying to solve the poem, because there's no material product at the end of it, that they embrace and understand what I believe the spirit of Forrest, Forrest in starting this was to get people thinking and moving and interacting with people different than themselves, and that that the end of a possibility of material goods won't mean the end of the chase.
Yeah, in a more philosophical sense, if you look at what he's accomplished by hiding this treasure and giving us the tools that we need to locate it, he's actually done something that stimulates our emotions.
Timeless.
Yeah, it stimulates our emotions. It stimulates our brain, and it stimulates us physiologically. So I don't know whether he had this grand vision of what he was accomplishing, but I also don't know anyone who gets into this search and isn't affected by it emotionally, spiritually, mentally and physically, because it has all those components. And it certainly has maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but if you start asking questions from the searchers like I do in our interviews, you find out there's a depth to this, to how they treat it, that goes beyond like getting away from the little texting machines and going out into nature. It's more than that. And so I think we have to start thinking about, well, how am I going to replace that? Or do I need to replace that, all what I'm experiencing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just because there's no treasure chest, potentially, if someone finds it and this ends as a hunt for a bronze box, doesn't mean that the treasure hunt is over.
Right.
Doesn't mean that there still isn't a poem to solve. And every single aspect remains.
Right.
The only thing that won't remain is the physical financial reward.
Right.
Hopefully, people are not motivated by that solely. If they are, they should probably get out of the chase.
I told Sean Sean Martinez that I wanted to steal his idea for an upcoming show, hacking the poem. But you just gave me another one, and so I'm going to borrow it from you as well. And
Please do.
And
I
don't
really
know.
Important conversation to have.
I don't know what I'm going to title it, but I'm going to suggest, and you tell me what you think since I have you on the phone. I think we should do a show entitled "What Will You Do When the Treasure's Been Found?" Because I think.
Right.
I think we need to talk about
that's great, because I don't think the chase needs to ever end.
Right. Right. I think we've got a really interesting community, and it would be even more interesting if the treasure chest is found. We have a plan. What are we going to do then? There's lots of we could start looking at the Beale series of treasures that, he's got 50. He's going to put 50 of them out there. He hasn't done all of them, some of which have been found. So we know he's the real deal when it comes to this. So I promise you, based on what we talked about, I will develop a show. It may not be this week, because I have plans for this week. I will develop a program with the topic of what will you do when the treasure's been found? I think that's a fair question to ask.
Right. And to open up a dialogue of encouraging folks to realize that, just because the treasure chest has been found, it doesn't mean that the trail of the chase is over,
right.
And you can still work to solve the poem and still have all of the same experiences.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if the person who finds the treasure, A, remains anonymous, B, does inform the community, does inform the community that the treasure's been found, but decides not to reveal where the treasure was found for whatever reasons. Maybe it's a taxi.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I like that.
That's what I'm hoping.
When the treasure's been found. Okay, I just wrote down the title of the show. Okay, and when I do the show, I'll give you credit for it. Okay, how's that?
I don't need the credit, but thank you. You're sweet. And thank you for the show, and have a great night.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, it's kind of the cherry on the top of the kind of day that I've had today. It's just been from a YouTuber's perspective, today was a great day for me. So I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I have.
Good deal. Take it easy, Toby.
Thank you, Jim. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Let's see. From David Dow, really appreciate your shows. I learn something every time. Well, you know what? That sounds to me like a darned good place to end this program. We've been going at it for just over 2 hours. I hope you have enjoyed this 2 hours with me as much as I have enjoyed spending them with you. I appreciate Sean Martinez. I see your comment. That's very good. Maybe Sean, you and Michael and I can get together and talk about the topic. So thank you for joining me today. I hope your day was as good as mine was. as a YouTuber. It was a great day. I'm sorry that I missed my partner, but she had really important things to do between going to class and spending the evening with her husband on their kind of fun date. So I'm glad that she had the opportunity to do that. Glad you guys could make it tonight. I want you to know that we know, Shelley and I know, that you have a lot of choices when it comes to picking the way that you spend your time, especially when it's on YouTube. And we're very happy, very pleased that you choose to spend your time with us. Okay? So thank you for tonight. You guys have a great evening. So this is the last time we'll use this outro this week, and we'll have a new outro for you next week. Okay? Good evening, guys. Thanks.